안녕하십니까. 과학기술정보통신부 국제협력관 김성규입니다. 저는 오늘 이 자리에서 한국 과학기술 외교정책의 추진 경과와 정책 방향을 여러분에게 말씀드리고자 합니다.
Going forward. So, as the diplomatic efforts in the area of science and technology are getting all the more important, I will describe how the ministry is working on the top 5 priorities as key focus area. In 2019, the Ministry of Science and ICT and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs set forth strategies for science and ICT diplomacy with a vision to make Korea an innovative and inclusive society. We came up with 4 strategies to achieve 3 goals of innovative growth, global prosperity, and well-being of the humanity. And one is to lead global agendas. Second is to contribute to sustainable development of the global community. The third is to work to ensure well-being and quality of life of global citizens. And fourth is to build a better system for science and ICT diplomacy. Based on these strategies, the Ministry of Science and ICT have actively pursued cooperation with partner countries, and we will continue to invest our energy to boost science and ICT diplomacy. The goals that we put forward in 2019, namely innovative growth, global prosperity, and well-being of the humanity, are still very much relevant today. When faced with healthcare crisis posed by the pandemic, as well as sluggish economic growth, we once again realized the importance of science and technological innovation, and innovation does require close international cooperation. Mr. Peter Glongman, President of International Science Council, recently mentioned science is more important than ever. We strongly believe that we are at a crossroads, and international cooperation in science and ICT will determine the future growth of Korea and its partner countries. Currently, the global community is facing some serious issues, such as infectious disease, climate change, and cyber warfare, which can be addressed through technological development. At the same time, there are new challenges that occur with the emergence of new technologies. With the advent of new technologies in the fourth industrial revolution, such as AI and the metaverse, can open up many new opportunities, and many countries around the world will enjoy new growth opportunities. Against this backdrop, we'd like to bring your attention to 2 perspectives. First, global threats that know no borders cannot be dealt with by a single country. The international community must get together and respond collectively. Second, we want to ensure that the benefits brought by new technologies are shared among countries around the world, and this will require a sustainable and inclusive approach. With these in mind, let me now introduce current policies and future directions of Korea's science and ICT. There are 5 main policies that are being implemented in terms of science and ICT diplomacy. I'll explain in the order of infrastructure, international joint research, ODA, invitation of researchers, and participation in international organizations. First, we strengthened the foundation for supporting science and ICT diplomacy. One project that's been materialized is the establishment of the Science and ICT Diplomacy Center established at Key Step, and the center will identify global issues related to science and ICT diplomacy strategies and train experts in this field. Moreover, we have appointed Mr. Min Won-gi, incumbent president of State University of New York in Korea, as an ambassador for science, technology, and innovation. He is responsible for supporting the government's science and technology diplomatic mission. And he will communicating with domestic and overseas private sector experts. Speaking of the joint research, so far, most joint researches have been conducted on a bilateral basis in all scientific fields. We've established 52 bilateral joint research centers, partner with 52 institutes in 12 countries. Moving forward, there will be three main directions we want to pursue for international joint studies. First, there will be a stronger support for strategic technologies that are deemed to become future growth engines such as bio and renewable energy. And our existing programs have been adjusted in order to promote multilateral projects, and projects that are linked to sustainable development goals will enjoy greater support. Support for multilateral projects increased starting from this year, and to give you an example, there is a joint project on climate change response between Korea, US, and Vietnam. Now I'd like to talk about ODA. Another area we want to focus more is the expansion of ODA for science and ICT so that we can contribute to global common prosperity. We have mostly provided our policy experience based on our know-how on developing the ICT sector, and we will continue to support R&D activities that are promising to solve global issues, and will also increase its budget. Our ODA budget was 19.5 billion Korean won in 2021, which is about 0.59% of the total ODA budget in Korea.
대표적인
These are leading examples of successful ODA projects. We supported Vietnam to develop rainwater purification technology, Tanzania to develop photovoltaic energy system technology, and build a digital production center in Myanmar. Especially 3D printers were used for producing medical masks in responding to COVID-19 recently. This is a prime example of addressing a pending global issue through ODA. As part of our efforts to make ODA projects more systematic, we'll build a statistics system for science and ICT ODA projects nationwide. Until now, we didn't have a statistics system for ODA projects in this sector. While the level of interest and need for project monitoring increased, there were many challenges to track projects. In the future, to accurately identify the current status, we will adopt the definition and criteria of science and ICT ODA, and especially considering the characteristics of science and ICT, we're considering the use of a marker system. For example, the Rio marker for environment and gender marker for gender equality that will be benchmarked to set up a statistics system. The system is expected to ensure accurate diagnosis of science and ICT ODA projects and help us establish appropriate strategy. Ultimately, this will raise the effectiveness overall science and ICT ODA. And after we validate the system in Korea, we're planning to engage in relevant discussion in international organizations. Next, let me introduce our scientist exchange projects for cooperation in science and ICT. A leading project is the Rainbow program. So we have been supporting these exchanges through this program and also supported advanced overseas researchers stay in Korea. Since its launch in 1994, we've invited more than 2,000 overseas researchers. Rainbow Plus supports up to 10-year stay for renowned overseas researchers. Since its launch in 2020, around 10 high-level researchers were invited as part of the program. Going forward, our exchanges will be focused on core technologies, as in the case of joint research. A good example is the BrainLink program that will begin next year. BrainLink is a program that supports Korean researchers in the field of core technologies such as AI, semiconductors, and biotech for their research overseas. It will also support technology exchanges among researchers, and the total budget is 7.3 billion won. Researcher exchange in STEM has been a significant agenda in various recent bilateral and multilateral summits and meetings for Korea. In the future, we will expand exchange to lay the foundation for global cooperation to achieve innovation in science and ICT. Korea has been proactively participating in international organizations to play its parts in global discussions on science and ICT. Especially, we've been consistently striving to contribute to AI-related work in OECD CDEP. In October, in the AI public event held in link with MCM Part 2, we shared our progress regarding data dam and OECD's AI principles, including AI ethics standards. We'll support both human and physical resources for the WPAI to be set up early next year. In terms of STI system cooperation, we introduced Korea's policy examples such as the strategy for carbon neutrality technology innovation and the direction for the fifth basic plan on science and ICT. In the G20, we emphasized the importance of digital transformation for sustainable and inclusive recovery and shared our digital transformation experience, including the Digital New Deal with the global community. On December 1st, we hosted the 2021 ICT ministerial meeting under the theme Digital Connectivity. We confirmed the common goal of rebuilding an inclusive society through digital and announced the chair's statement promising strengthened cooperation in the future. Korea will host next year's UN ESCAP ICT ministerial meeting as well. It will mark the 75th anniversary of ESCAP and address ways to strengthen digital cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region. I ask for your interest in this regard. Given the nature of new technology where a single international order does not exist, multilateral discussion on science and technology will ensue under various methods and topics. Korea greatly values multilateral discussion and cooperative projects in science and ICT. We will continue to proactively participate in international organizations and various global discussions. I hope we can share this recognition and work together with participating countries today. Meanwhile, Korea recently declared the candidacy for the position of Deputy Secretary General of ITU. In the 2022 ITU Plenipotentiary Conference, Korea is running for the position of a council member state and nominated Dr. Jae-sub Lee as the candidate for the Deputy Secretary General. We will continue to provide support so one of our eminent experts in Korea could play a key role on the global stage to make contributions. Driven by the 5 key science and ICT diplomacy policy explained today, our ministry will continue to strengthen global cooperation in this field. Through inclusive utilization of science and ICT, we will contribute to shared global growth and co-prosperity going forward. Thank you very much.